Hi, so in this presentation we're going to be talking about degeneration, and this is where the sense of a word takes on a less positive, more negative evaluation. So it starts taking on these negative emotions, and it also tends to then lead to some sort of informative change as well. So it will take on a negative emotional value, and it will have a more negative informative meaning to it as well, which we'll see how that works. One of the best examples of this comes from German. We've got the word German, the noun in German, Weib, which is cognate to the English word wife. Right? So we've got the English word wife, which today is a female spouse, but originally wife was just woman, and that's what it originally meant in German. But it came to take on negative meanings, and so it came to mean an ill-tempered woman. It's a slur today, not a nice thing to call somebody. You would never say that to somebody that you actually liked, unless you wanted to insult them and call them a vibe. We've got mistress, goes through a kind of something similar in English, and for some reason this happens a lot with terms for women. So mistress originally was just simply the feminine counterpart to master. We borrowed it from French. So it originally just was feminine for master, mistress, but it came to take on these negative sexual meanings, and then attained also these kind of negative emotions with it. So that today it's a woman that a married man is having an affair with. Similarly, we see with madam, that was originally a polite form of address to a woman. We still have ma'am, which was a shortened form of madam, and in French today it's still a polite form, but in English it started taking on this negative informative value as the woman who's the head of a house of prostitution. A spinster was originally just one who spins, so that stir, that stir suffix there, which we don't have too much of. Gangster would be an example of that. Jokester, jester, punster, but it's really the same meaning as that suffix that you can add on practically any verb in English to be one who does it. So a spinster was just one who spins, and it came to mean an unmarried older woman with negative emotional value to it. And as that became less and less negative socially for us, the word basically just fell out of use. So that in the early 20th century, that would have been a pretty negative thing to say about somebody, whereas in the early 21st century, we just really don't care as much, and so we don't use the word spinster anymore. Slut was never that nice of a term, but what's interesting is that it used to be anybody. Could be a man, could be a woman, and it was really just an untidy person. Then it became more and more restricted to women, so it was an untidy woman, and then over time it started taking on these sexual connotations, and it became more and more of a slur, so that today it's a fairly nasty thing to say of a woman, that she's a slut. But again, that may be changing as our feelings about sexual promiscuity may be changing as well. In Italian and in Spanish, we've got the words puta and puta, which simply mean whore today, but originally they just meant girl. So in Old Italian, puta meant girl, and puto meant boy, and in Latin, putus was a boy and puta was a girl. But through this process of degeneration, they took on these negative emotional value and more sexual informative meaning, so that they mean whore today. And likewise, we see kind of a similar pattern that we saw with madam and mistress, where ramera, prostitute, earlier meant an innkeeper's wife, a female innkeeper. It was not negative at all. It came to be more sexualized and more emotionally negative. The last one we're going to look at is what happened with the word gay. The term for homosexual in many cultures exhibits these sort of semantic changes of various sorts. So, as you probably know, originally the word for, the word gay just simply meant cheerful or lively. And somewhere in the mid-20th century, we started using it to mean homosexual. And it was originally probably more of a euphemism. It then came to take on some negative informative value. It degenerated. And it took on this meaning of homosexual in negative senses, but also given to social pleasures, licentious. And it went through a further process of degeneration where gay has taken on the meaning of lame, which is kind of interesting because lame also went through this process of degeneration, where lame originally was kind of a polite term for somebody who was physically disabled, and then it came to be, a negative term for anything. So you also see that, the semantic weakening, the informative weakening going on there as well with lame, which is also going on with gay. And today, arguably, we've got two words. One of them meaning gay homosexual, which is probably an orthophonism today. It's really lost its taboo-ness and it's lost its negative emotional value. But we do have this other word, gay, meaning uncool. Right? So I'm going to leave that as a discussion for you to go into that a little bit more and consult your own intuitions and the way that people in your speech community use gay today.